Well, the subject of this lecture is special events. You'll see the E in mice. We oftentimes think the E relates purely to exhibitions, but there's one train of thought that says that maybe there should be an extra E in there with regards to events, because indeed, events are a major part of what the industry is about, because events happen separately and also as a part of other meetings, incentives, conventions, and exhibitions. One of the most important characteristics, though, about an event is that it happens once. Now, many of you may end up in the event area, and that may have been where your strongest interest was when you started. But think about these as happening one time, or maybe there are a series of single events or unique events. Maybe it's an annual festival or an F1 or something of that nature. But the key is that the particular nature of it, whether it's just the theme for that year or the event happening during a corporate conference, whatever it might be, it only happens once. Guest rooms are typically incidental. Organizers of events don't always go around and secure guest room block commitments, like we've talked about back in the hotel section of the module. So they exist, of course, but they don't always end up part of the operation of what the event organizer has to do. But the key elements are what sort of make it different to me. Decor is a critical issue. We don't have to think of decor when we think of meetings or conventions, perhaps even exhibitions, but in the nature of the type of events we're doing, the props, the pyrotechnics, the backgrounds, the things that we happen in there, the entertainment that we bring in. There's often some type of entertainment. It could be cultural dances, or it might be more related to a musical event of some type or another. So one of the most important elements of success in this area is to do with creativity. You have to do it bigger, better every year, sort of like in the incentive area, except that now it's a one-time type of event. And that may interest some of you who are more creative. That doesn't tend to be my strength, so I didn't really focus on this area so much of my own career in the industry. Let's talk about some classifications then of types of events, special events. Corporate events are a big part, probably the largest part of where special events happen. It could be at an annual shareholders meeting where there's a big event for just that on an annual basis. A sales meeting, a one-day sales meeting to motivate and bring the salespeople into whatever is the current trend in terms of what they need to be doing to get them motivated to go out and sell. New product launches are probably the most common one we think about because it's a chance to show that product. Apple's every year rollout of its new phone. The Microsoft Developers Conference, which my daughter, I'm proud of, was the speaker this year for the rollout of the new Harman Gardens speaker for Cortana, the competitor to Alexa. Press conferences where we're talking about some new event, new kind of thing. Even a opening of a hotel that I've done before, we brought a lot of press in and a lot of the special event was done for them. That was what that was about. Awards ceremonies. Certainly we think of the big ones like the Oscars, the Emmys, the Tonys, and so on and so forth, but there's many different types of award ceremonies even at a smaller level with smaller organizations. Holiday celebrations, the annual National Day, whatever it might be, the parade, the fireworks, but it continues to lead the event industry in terms of corporate aspects. And by the way, when I go back to holiday celebrations here, we're talking about corporate events associated with that, just to put that in the context, not the festival itself. Association events are typically bigger because usually associations are bigger in the process, but even a monthly luncheon can be a special event in terms of what you put on and where you do it and all those kind of things. Press conferences, again, board meetings, all of these are possibles on the side of the event industry. And of course, charity balls, fundraisers are major opportunities here. It's kind of a unique event for the event organizer because you're working with a particular charity or organization. In fact, when we opened the Marriott World Center, one of the things that Marriott did at openings was always to have a charitable event where monies were given back to a charitable organization. And we chose the Cancer Society, and we did their big annual event, and it was a lot of fun working on that, working with an event organizer to put all of that together. You know, I didn't do that myself as the director of marketing. I used an outside source to do that. but there's normally a theme associated with these events. In this case, it was the opening of the hotel, but it could be whatever theme that organization has for this year, bigger and better kind of thing. Social functions, weddings, engagement parties, holiday functions, broad variety of social events, family reunions, all those kind of things could be special events. Again, not directly associated with guest rooms necessarily. Fairs and festivals, annual National Day celebrations, F1s, Qing Day parades, all of those kind of things, celebrating whatever that moment would be. We all love those kind of things. But those are one-time events, remember. They just happen once a year. So the number of people it takes to plan those over the year is very small. The number of people it takes to run it is very large. So concerts and sporting events, of course, those are big issues. Opening ceremonies, halftime ceremonies, post-game ceremonies at sporting events are a big issue. In fact, in the U.S., the Super Bowl halftime is probably as big a production as any that you'll see out there in that special events area. Mega sports events, F1s, Olympics, Special Olympics. We've been fortunate to have some of these here, golf tournaments, major golf tournaments, all those kind of things. And at those events, there's oftentimes special events. So let's say you're doing a golf tournament, there are tents for sponsors, for the corporate side of it. So you could be a part of a special event and not be part of the special event staff, if I put in that perspective, okay? Here are some examples coming up October, December of special events in Singapore. Mid-Autumn Festival, the WTA finals in Singapore, being a sporting event, Deepavali, all of these, looking at the STB calendar, you can see all kinds of special events. Again, I remind you, one of the key elements to understand here, of course, it's about creativity, but it's also about the fact that you have a very small staff. You have a number of people for the event, but the planning part of it's very small, which is probably why you won't see as many people in that industry. Excuse me. The International Live Events Association, formerly called, the International Special Events Society, but as you can see, the acronym for that wasn't very popular in this day and age, so they changed their name. But if you look at their membership here, you see that the planner, producer, coordinator is more than half of the members that they have in terms of what they do. So these are unique type of individuals and companies that aren't necessarily associated with the meetings, the incentives, the conventions, the exhibitions. They do events for all of those, but they are separate companies themselves. What impact does this industry have? Well, ask the people from the International Live Events Association. It's a platform that they create of great minds working together. They fuel and facilitate growth, economic, personal, professional. They bring awareness to causes. That's a big factor. If you have a dedication to a particular cause like cancer and fighting cancer, that's an important element to you. We enable people to connect from world leaders to wedding guests. They produce special moments that leave lasting memories, and that's a big part of what corporate events are about, particularly if it's associated with an incentive. You really want the people to go back feeling, wow, this was a special opportunity. Or creating youth and students, Special Olympics and educational type events and so on can all be great motivators in what the industry can do in terms of its impact too. What keeps the special event organizer awake at night? Well, obviously, I think we can all understand safety and security fears are number one, and that's probably even more so in a situation like this because of the large number of people gathered in recent history. In terms of what happens when that type of an event can be there for a target. Digital and online communication. I'll explain a little bit more about what we mean by that as a threat in terms of what keeps them awake at night, and communicating the value of what that special event is, why that brings people together, why it motivates, and so on. So when we talk about those key threats and how they undermine, obviously the threat and fear of generating global terrorism. People don't want to go to a festival because they're afraid that being in a large gathering, that can be a detriment. Event alternatives, though, that's what we're talking about in terms of the issue of the digital aspect. Virtual reality, video, digital conferencing takes away from that live event part. But in fact, it really adds more to the whole picture because it adds another element to what you have to do during an event, because you need to record it or make it available live for people to stream. Climate change can be a big issue because many times special events are done outdoors, so they're going to be affected by whatever weather patterns are there, and they're going to happen or not happen as a result of it. So you have to plan for it. In fact, as a little side, in opening the Marriott World Center, we were getting ready to stage the entire area around the pool. We had the jetpack man from the Olympics in Los Angeles. Now, that may be a little bit older than all of you, but the guy put a jet on his back and basically a pack, and he flew out over the top of the pool, and that's how we were going to break the ribbon, right? So anyhow, it comes down to the day or so before, and this is June in Florida, Orlando, Florida. June in Orlando, Florida never rains in the morning. Our general manager, our regional vice president said to us, what's your backup plan should it rain? Well, of course, our backup plan was it wasn't going to rain. He said, no, you need to have a backup plan. So we said, all right, we'll figure out some tinting. So we brought a company in that does tinting, puts all the poles up and so on. And they asked us, they said, can you give us the schematic of the underground wires, all the electric and so on that are underneath the pool deck area? Well, so happens that nobody ever did that. So they said, I'm sorry, but we can't put those poles down in the ground because we don't want any of our employees electrocuted. Okay, so we said, all right, we got to prepare for this some way or another. We got to make our regional vice president aware of the fact that this is going to happen. We said, no, that won't do. What we're going to do is we're going to set it up as if we're going to put it up, knowing that it wouldn't rain, and make him think we had a backup plan. In fact, that's what we did. If it had rained, we were dead, but it didn't, and the better for it. I don't know whether he ever knew about that or not. I don't think I ever told him. Inexperienced and untrained planners can be a problem, of course. Not knowing little things like that. You know, I was an inexperienced person at planning an event like that at that time. I didn't know how to deal with that exactly. Inability to control negative messages spread through social media. You know, we've seen recently several big events of concerts where there was one in the Bahamas, I believe, where they brought all those people there and then the event didn't happen. So it can be a huge problem. Huge problem. So to wrap that up, let's talk about some special events companies here in Singapore. First off, keep in mind that most of these companies are going to be SMEs, small medium enterprises. They dominate this area. This is not an area where you see a lot of big name players in there necessarily. There are some who do, obviously, and those large players here, Pico is probably the first one that people think about. Ace Dayton's, Tricom, Aspen Event Planners, O Media Group, and these are opportunities probably for you in IWSPs. So you might be able to get opportunities, or in IAs even for that matter, in these type of organizations. Learn a little bit more about it, see if it's an area you have an interest in. So I think special events is an important area. We don't cover it as much in this environment, but a lot of the same principles that go into the meeting organizing and so on apply to this too. And it's important to understand the venues where these are held, because there are oftentimes special parts of venues of hotels or outdoor recreation areas, other aspect of things, parks, beaches, all those kind of things can be a potential here. So lots of interaction between different parts of the industry. So it's an exciting area, interesting area. Many of you may go into it, but the organization skills are the same as they are for anything else in the MICE industry. And that is the lecture for special events. Thank you.